Assalamualaikum Doctor and hi everyone. We are from Group 2. We'll be presenting the Biomedical Signal Processing Group Assignment video presentation. Before we start our presentation, I would like to introduce our group members. The first one is Chua Seng Chong, the second one is Kek Dakwan, the third one is Ong Wei Chong, the fourth one is Tanzi, and lastly is me, Muhammad Fahmi Afam bin Muhammad Fuad.
So we will start with introduction to EMG wave. EMG wave are electrical signal generated by the activation of muscle during contraction. So these waves are produced when motor neuron transmit electrical impulse to muscle fibers, causing depolarization and subsequent muscle movement. EMG signals are typically measured using surface electrode placed on the skin or intramuscular electrode inserted into the muscular tissue. The amplitude and frequency of EMG wave reflect the intensity of muscle activity, and also it can provide a valuable insight into neuromuscular function, making them widely used in clinical diagnostic, rehabilitation, and biomechanical research. So continue with this is the diagram of action potential. So for the resting potential, when the cell is at rest with a memory potential of approximately negative 70 MV, and also the inside of the cell is negatively charged compared to the outside due to the ion distribution. So coming out with depolarization, so the process will be begins once the threshold is reached and the voltage gated sodium channel will be open and any plus ion will rush into the cells. This rapid influx will cause a membrane potential to rise steeply, moving toward a positive voltage. Repolarization. At the peak of depolarization, sodium channel will close and voltage gated potassium channel open. K plus ion exit the cell, causing the membrane potential to decrease, returning toward the resting potential. At last stage, hyperpolarization. So K plus channel will stay open a bit longer, causing the membrane potential to dip below the resting potential. So this phase will ensure that the action potential does not immediately trigger again, contributing to the refractory period.
Hi, I'm Wei Chong, and I'm going to talk about EMG analysis. When we talk about EMG analysis, it can be generally coded in two types, which is the first one is time frequency analysis, and the second one will be wavelet transform. Time frequency analysis is a powerful technique for studying signals whose frequency characteristic changes over time. And as you can see from the diagram, time frequency method is a representation of a signal in both the time and frequency domain simultaneously. And this enables the identification of transient events and changes in muscle activity. On the other hand of wavelet transform is a versatile method in time frequency analysis that decomposes a signal into scaled and shifted version of a basic function called wavelet. And as you can see from the diagram, the color intensity corresponds to the signal's power at different times and scales or even different frequencies. So wavelet transform uses variable window sizes, which allows us to alter and to have a better solution resolution for signals with both either high and low frequency components.
Let's move on to the wave analysis simulation. As you can see here is the raw EMG signals recorded from a 4-channel surface EMG system. The dataset comprise data collected from 40 participants ensuring equal gender representation. Each channel represents a distinct signal reflecting the muscle activity during the specific gesture. These signals serve as the foundation for analyzing motor tasks and understanding how muscle groups behave during specific movements. Moving on to the data acquisition. The data for this project was sourced from Mendeley data and was captured using a BioPack M436 system, where the purpose of this study is to analyze muscle activity during various motor tasks with a focus on human-computer interaction applications. We recorded the signals at a high sampling rate of 2 kilohertz, ensuring precise data collection. The setup included 4 channels of raw surface EMG signals from participants' forearm muscle group. For this study, we focused on the fifth gesture out of the 10 unique hand gestures simulated and recorded. The data is stored in a .csv format for easy processing and analysis in the future. Our electrodes were placed strategically on the forearm, which allows us to capture meaningful data relevant to the motor task we are studying. The datasets we are showcasing today represents the data from the first participant of the 40 participants in the total.
Now I'm going to talk about the signal processing techniques in terms of the parameters that we have used. For this project, the technique that we use are short time Fourier transform, SDFT, and also continuous wavelet transform, CWT. Let us start from SDFT. The main parameters are window size, overlap, and also FFT sampling points. The window size determine how much the signals is going to divide into segments and performing windowing. Window size is crucial as the chosen sizes is to determine the balance between the time resolution and also frequency resolution. And for our case, we uses 256 samples. On the other hand, about overlapping, the size of overlapping we choose is window size over 2, which is 50%. This 50% means that each window shares half of its samples with the next one. And it is quite important as well as the samples of overlap between adjoining segments. Last but not least is the FFT sampling point. FFT sampling points is the sampling points to calculate the discrete Fourier transform. The higher number of sampling points will result in finer frequency detail, but we must aware that it also increases the computational complexity. So for our case, we uses 512 sampling points. Let us move on to continuous wavelet transform, CWT. There are five parameters in here. And in continuous wavelet transform, there's a lot of types of wavelet. And for our case, we uses the default one, which is analytic Morse wavelet. So analytic Morse wavelet is a specifically designed for continuous signal, which is suitable for a non-stationary signal like EMG, and it making it ideal for the application requiring time frequency analysis. And next one will be the symmetry parameter of the wavelet. The higher value of the symmetry parameter makes the wavelet function more symmetric, which is very ideal for capturing signal structures with smooth and gradual variations in time. And for our case, the symmetry parameter we use is equal to 3. Next, we move on to the time bandwidth. The time bandwidth that we choose is 60. What is so important about time bandwidth are the factors that ensure spec- the wavelet captures specific signal characteristics that we wanted. And let us move on to voices per octave. So what is voices per octave? Actually, voices per octave means that how finely the frequency scale is divided into the wavelet transform, which when increasing of the voices per octave, it will be also improve the frequency resolutions. And in our case, we choose a quite large one, which is equal to 10. And last but not least is we using the technique of Li normalization in the CWT. So basically, it standardizes the wavelet transforms energy across different scales to make it easier to compare signal features at different frequency. And especially using CWT, it will show a lot of frequencies. So that is basically what are the parameters that been used in signal processing techniques for our project.
Hi, I'm Tanji. Now, this is a signal processing flowchart before we doing SDFT analysis and wavelet transform analysis. So, it starts with the loading of the signals. The first step involves importing the raw EMG signals from the files, and this is provided as a used as an input for preprocessing pipeline. And then it goes to the remove the baseline wanders. Baseline wander is a low frequency noise typically caused by movement or electro drift. Removing it with a high-pass filter ensures the signal can be accurately represent the master activity without distortions, and then a notch filter will be applied. Like this is due to the filter out like the power line interference, often at 50 hertz to or the 60 hertz, that can corrupt the EMG signals. So the notch filter is very useful in remove this specific frequency and its harmony to reduce the interference. Next is come to the rectifications and averagings. So the rectification convert the EMG signals to these absolute values, making all negative values positive. And then the averagings is used to smooth the signal by reducing the short-term fluctuations, which help in better identifying muscle activation patterns. Then it's come to normalizations. Normalizations scale the signals to a fixed range like between 0 and 1. This step ensure the amplitude variations are consistent across different signals and making it easier to compare the result. Next is go to the separate analysis. After we process the drug signals, it will separate to different analysis method. One is SDFT analysis, which is the short time Fourier transform. Another is reflex transform analysis. We try to do analysis with these two methods. First one is a short time Fourier transform (SDFT), and another one is reflex transform analysis. So the step is as below. Short time Fourier transform involve like is applied to each of the four EMG channel, like window size is 256 samples with FFT length of 512, and then we go to generate the spectrograms using MATLAB spectrogram functions, and then rescale the time vector to match the actual time duration of the signals. For the wavelet transform analysis, the EMG signals from the four channel are normalized first to ensure the consistent comparisons, and then the CWT functions in MATLAB was used to generate the scalograms for each channel. Then the wavelet was selected for its balance between the time and frequency reductions. The CWT functions in MATLAB were used to generate the scaleogram for each channels. So each scaleogram was labeled with the corresponding muscle group and channel number for clarity. So the result will show in the next slide.
Okay, from the result, we can see that there are five iteration in between one channel that can be shown in short time Fourier transform and also wavelet transform analysis. So from the interpretation of STFT, first of all, the muscle activity is concentrated between 20 and 40 Hz, which typically for voluntary contraction, while muscle activation is steady and uniform across time, indicating a sustained gesture. A higher power is observed than in the 20 to 40 Hz range, indicating the strong muscle contraction, while at the same time no significant noise below 20 Hz, showing effective filtering of baseline noise and artifacts. And also, the gesture will appears to be slow and continuous. So for the wavelet transform analysis, the scalegram effectively highlight the activation of specific muscle group during the wrist and finger movement. The dominant energy bursts are concentrated in 20 to 40 Hz range, indicating typical muscle contraction frequency during voluntary movement. The wavelet transform capture both short-term bursts and sustained muscle engagement, providing insight into dynamic muscle behavior.
So hello everyone, my name is QUAN, and right now I'm going to focus on the comparison between these two methods that dealing with processing of the signals. So for the analysis comparison part wise, we already listened that what my teammate explained just now, especially on the methodology. For the short time Fourier transform STFT, we call as, and also continuous wavelet transform CWT. So basically, and next I'll be talking about the comparison between these two, and then what is the characteristic of the wave between these two. So when coming towards the STFT wise, from the graph that having the four channel, you can see that the channels actually, the amplitude of the signals actually mainly concentrate in the lower frequency range, which is the highest. Yeah, you can see that yellow represent the highest one, which is negative 50 something. And then it can shows that at lower frequency, they're actually more higher. And apart from that, actually the pattern in the spectrogram also remain consistent over the range from 0 until 600 seconds. Okay, you can see that actually he has a pattern, yeah, a quite regular pattern, yeah, similar towards the EMG signals. When coming towards the CWT, okay, so basically, first of all, you can see this also having a four channels, okay. Yeah, so when coming towards this, that is actually a bit same towards STFT. Is like it's also show that the energy is higher at lower frequency, yeah, especially below 0.1 hertz, okay. And when coming towards specific time intervals such as 4 until 6 minutes and also 9 until 10 minutes, yeah, their display notable spike can be observed through this, okay. This actually indicates a burst of activity of the signals. So lastly, when coming towards a comparison and discussion wise, we do actually think of seven criteria or seven features that used to distinguish between the STFT analysis and also CWT analysis. The first, of course, will be a time frequency resolution, where STFT are being fixed while CWT are variables. Okay. And second part, of course, will be the frequency range. For frequency range, why STFT is limited by window size, while CWT analysis are scalable. Okay. Yeah. And when coming towards the detection of transients, FTFT is less effective while CWT is more effective. Lastly, what is the strength between these two methods in processing the signals? Yeah, of course, when I'm talking about STFT, of course, it's suitable for saturated frequency content since they are fixed, they're having fixed time frequency resolutions. When coming towards the CWT, wise actually is better in detecting transient event. Yeah, we're coming towards the frequency bands also time slices, while STFT maintain uniform across all the frequency, while CWT analysis will have more adaptation to different frequency. Yeah, high time resolution are for high frequency and also high frequency resolution for low frequency. Yeah, so when coming towards the application in EMG analysis, STFT may be misdetailed in lower frequency range, okay, but CWT actually will highlight low frequency components, yeah, which is a bit different from STFT analysis.
In conclusion, from the study that we have presented, it already showed that the analysis of electromyography EMG signals using both short-time Fourier transform (SDFT) and continuous wavelet transform (CWT) provides valuable insights, especially into the temporal and spectral characteristic of muscle activity. The results also illustrated in this project have been proof that both techniques has their own advantages and also weaknesses. So it is our recommendation that both analysis can be applied of both techniques can be applied for the EMG analysis to have a more comprehensive and accurate desired results without any missing of information. That's all from our group. Thank you.
That's all for our presentation. Thank you.